would. We will begin. I hope you have a lovely evening, and we will start with Mr. Christopher Carrillo.
All right. There we go. Good evening, everybody. My name is Christopher Carrillo, and on behalf of our entire team, I would like to thank all of you for coming out to our seminar. We're very happy to have you here. Welcome. To begin, I wanted to take a moment and share with everyone a little bit about the name for our seminar. Uh-oh. Looks like I went too far. There we go. As you can see, the name of our seminar is called The Journey, a Patchwork of Care. And a little bit about that. So if you think about all of the stages that we go through as we navigate this journey that we call life, there are many different ways in which we access our nation's healthcare system. You have obviously health insurance, then there's long-term care, Medicare, Medicaid, savings. So there are an awful lot of puzzle pieces that can come into play as we navigate the various phases of life. And of course, one of the things I've learned in my career as a financial advisor is that there can be a lot of confusion in our society about what covers what. And so one of the things I like to do as an advisor is help all of my clients understand how all of the puzzle pieces fit together. And then, of course, you have receiving care. And when you think about how we receive care, again, you have many different puzzle pieces. You have hospital care, your primary physician, in-home care, assisted living, nursing home care, then, of course, all of the care coordination services that help you figure out what's going to be most appropriate for you. So it really is a patchwork of care as we navigate this journey that we call life. So, as I mentioned, I work as a financial advisor. I got started in my profession in 2012. And I will tell you that the way that we do long-term care planning, which is what I will be speaking about this evening, it's evolved quite a bit. The way that we did long-term care planning in 2012 is very different than how we do planning now. So the first question is, why is it important to plan? Well, the first answer to that question is options. It's very important to have a plan in place because if you don't have a plan in place, you severely limit your options later in life. So putting a plan together now will give you options later. Now, a number of years ago, they did a study and they asked seniors who had made the decision to purchase long-term care why they made the decision to do so. The vast majority of seniors that participated in the study said that they made the decision to purchase long-term care because they didn't want to be a burden to their children. And if you think about that from the perspective of their adult children, this is not necessarily a selfish thing. It's actually very pragmatic. If you think about it, many adult children have a very sincere desire to help mom and dad when mom and dad get a little older and require some additional help. But life happens, and sometimes circumstances mean that it's a little bit more challenging for adult children to help. And so therefore, even though many adult children feel it's very important to help, sometimes there are constraints, time constraints and financial constraints being the two most prominent. So therefore, having a plan in place is very helpful for families. Then, of course, there's inflation. As we all know, in recent years, our society has had to contend with an awful lot of inflation. Long-term care is by no means an exception. In fact, historically speaking, the inflation rate for long-term care has been higher than the inflation rate for the overall economy. And so therefore, having a plan in place will also help you mitigate inflationary pressures that affect long-term care. And then last but not least, it's very important to preserve your nest egg. I can't tell you how many times I have meetings with people, and whenever I bring up long-term care, they get very adamant about the idea of self-funding their care. And of course, the reason that they're so adamant about that is they look at their retirement nest egg, they look at all of the assets that they've accumulated across the course of their career, and they figure, that number is pretty healthy. I think I'll be fine. I'll be able to cover any expenses that may come up later in life. But then we start looking at the costs associated with long-term care, and that's when we realize how quickly the costs that we have now can erode one's nest egg. So is this long-term care planning that we do, it really does go a long way towards helping people preserve their retirement nest egg. And if we're working with a married couple, it's even more important because if one spouse gets sick first, we have to make sure that there's something there for the surviving spouse later on. So very important considerations. This is where we're going to spend the vast majority of our time together, solutions. So the evolution of long-term care planning. Like I said earlier, the way that we did planning in 2012, when I first got started working as a financial advisor, is very different than how we do planning now. To give you a little background, when the insurance companies invented long-term care insurance years ago, they didn't really have a very good idea of how to properly price the products. And they just didn't have any experience with that. There was no data to go off of. Of course, when many of those early policy owners started to go on claim, then all of a sudden the insurance companies that were in that long-term care space at that time, they realized, uh-oh, we made a bit of a mistake. And so they realized not only were they not making money on that particular line of business, they were actually losing a lot of money. And so as a result of that, many of the insurance companies that were in the long-term care space on day one got out. The companies that remained in the long-term care space, those were the companies where we really started to see a pretty substantial track record of rate increases. And so over the years, the general public got kind of turned off to the traditional, or what we refer to as standalone, long-term care insurance policies. And there's really three reasons why. The first reason is the history of rate increases. Obviously, no insurance company was immune to that. Every insurance company has had rate increases. The second reason is in certain circumstances, the insurance companies would say to someone, okay, we won't raise your rates this year, but instead what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to reduce the benefits that are held within your long-term care benefits pool. And of course, policy owners didn't like that for obvious reasons. And if you think about it, it was really a horrible situation for many seniors because you're putting them in a position to make some pretty tough decisions when it comes to their policy when they're on a fixed income. And with those raising rates, it really forced a lot of seniors to ask some pretty tough questions. For example, do I keep this policy? Do I cancel this policy? It was really a horrible situation a lot of people found themselves in. But the third reason people got turned off to the traditional long-term care insurance policies is the reason that I would argue is the most important. And that essentially is the fact that a lot of people started to ask a very fundamental question, which was, what happens if I go quickly? You see, people started to realize that if they go quickly, essentially what that would mean is that they wouldn't have an opportunity to utilize the benefits that are held within their long-term care benefits pool. And of course, the idea of all of that money that they paid into the policy over an extended period of time going into the pockets of the insurance companies, that left a lot of people feeling a little unsettled. And so as a result of that trend that we saw within the marketplace, the insurance companies responded. And the way that they responded was by taking a step back and essentially fundamentally reconfiguring the way in which they construct products. And so today, when we do long-term care planning, we now use what are known as the linked and the hybrid policies. And these policies are phenomenal. They're very popular and for good reason. What's really going on with the linked and the hybrid policies is pretty simple. You start with a life insurance policy, and typically it's whole life insurance, and you basically use that as the chassis, and then you add a long-term care rider on top of the chassis. And the way that whole life insurance policies are constructed, it's really very interesting. You have two components. You have the death benefit component and you have the cash value component. Both of those components are designed to equal one another when the insured individual is 100 years old. So what that means is that for the vast majority of your life, the death benefit is the bigger number and the cash value is the smaller number. Over time, both numbers grow. The cash value actually grows a little faster than the death benefit because eventually it has to catch up to it. But at the end of the day, the long-term care rider, what it does is really, really powerful. And on a side note, a rider, that's an industry term that we use to describe the way in which a policy can be customized. So by adding a long-term care rider, all you're doing is you're taking a life insurance policy and you're customizing it. So the long-term care rider, what it does is really cool. It basically gives people the ability to accelerate the death benefit of their policy for the purposes of long-term care. So you can use your death benefit when you're still alive and when you have a need for care. And this has been a game changer because when you look at those two numbers, the cash value and the death benefit, for the vast majority of your life, the death benefit is the bigger number, but it's not bigger by just a little bit, it's bigger by a lot. So if you give people the ability to use the bigger number when they're still alive and have a need for care, for a lot of people in our society, that can be a game changer. And so that's what makes the long-term care riders so powerful and so exciting for a lot of people that we work with. Now, there is a note about cash value. You know, you can always take cash value out. As soon as your cash value is there, you can take it, you can borrow it, and there are no restrictions on how you can use the money. But when you give people the bigger number to work with for long-term care planning, it can make all the difference in the world. There's a concept that I'd like to touch on. It's called the use it, or use it concept. I will tell you, I love this concept. All of my clients love this concept. The reason people like it so much is because it gives people tremendous peace of mind. Allow me to explain. The use it, or use it concept essentially explains to people how a properly constructed life insurance policy can be utilized within any one of three scenarios. The first scenario is when the insured individual experiences a premature death. We use the word premature because we are assuming that the insured individual has financial goals and objectives that have not yet been completed. So that's why we say premature death. If that should happen, the death benefit of the policy would be there to accomplish all of your financial goals and objectives, and the family will be okay. In the second scenario, the insured individual is blessed with longevity, but they're unhealthy. If that should happen, they would then be in a position to use the long-term care coverage within the policy for the purposes of helping to pay for their long-term care needs. And then in the third scenario, the insured individual is blessed with longevity and they are healthy, which is ideal. And if that should happen, they would then be in a position to use the cash value within the policy for the purposes of supplementing their retirement. So it truly is a use it, or use it. And this provides people tremendous peace of mind because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know precisely what the future has in store for us. So at the end of the day, you never have to worry about losing all of the money that you pay into the policy over an extended period of time. Special considerations. So we have several. Policy pricing. People always want to know, what does it cost? Well, there are a lot of variables that go into pricing for these policies. The three most important variables are your gender, your health, and your age. Your gender is what it is. Your health is always the wild card. One day you're perfectly healthy, the next day you're diagnosed with something that you didn't even know you had. That happens every day. So that's the wild card. But the age variable, that's the predictable variable. And as I can tell you, the sooner you get started with your plan, the more affordable the rates will be. So starting sooner does have its benefits. As far as underwriting goes, it's very important to be aware of the fact that there is underwriting for the life insurance portion of the policy, and then there's separate underwriting for the long-term care portion. So it's very important to be aware of that. Lastly, we have late stage planners. And I will tell you, when I have meetings with people who would be classified as late stage planners, a lot of times they come to me and they say, Chris, I don't even know if I should be talking to you about this. I don't know. I'm so late to the party. Is it even cost feasible for me to obtain coverage? Because it would be expensive according to conventional wisdom. But the answer to that question is yes. It does still it is still worth it to explore options, because we actually have one option that a lot of people who are late stage planners find to be viable. And that's a solution where you can make a single premium payment. It's a situation where you make a payment on the front end, and then that's it, you're done. You never have to worry about any future premium payments. And so therefore it doesn't represent an ongoing financial obligation. And that tends to work for a lot of seniors who are at that stage in life. Lastly, we're going to be talking about the process of going on claim. A lot of people want to know, what does that look like? Well, there is this thing called ADLs, activities of daily living, and there are 6. And you can see right up there that we have transferring, bathing, dressing, eating, using the restroom, and then incontinence. And the way it works is if an individual is unable to do 2 out of 6 of the activities of daily living, that individual would qualify to go on claim. And there is one exception, and that is the cognitive impairment exception. If an individual should be diagnosed with either Alzheimer's or dementia, that individual would also qualify to go on claim. What I tell people is, whenever you get to that stage in life where you're no longer able to take care of yourself, this can be kind of scary. It can be thoroughly disconcerting. Nobody likes to think about it. No one likes to talk about it. But at the end of the day, the good news is you don't have to do it alone. If you ever find yourself in that sort of situation, we're here to help. And I will tell you, we have some absolutely phenomenal people on our team, which is known as the Senior Journey Alliance. We have people that provide care coordination services as well as transition assistance services. And I will tell you right now, they're phenomenal. And the members of my team who focus on care coordination services, what they're really doing is so valuable. They're basically helping people ascertain how to optimize the benefits that they have through their plan. That's really going to help them as they navigate those final stages of life. So with that, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Sherry Tucker. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, I think I need the microphone maybe a little bit. No? All right. Anyway, I'm Sherry Tucker, and let's see if I can get this to work. I'm sometimes a little bit challenged. Oh, there we go. Tucker Legal Services. I have a DBA, your estate ally. I'm an estate planning lawyer, one of those. I also handle probate and trust administration. So let's go through. I thought, well, what can I say to you all this evening? And I'm going to talk about questions that I hear from my clients who walk through the door. All right. So I have to give a legal disclaimer, being an attorney, I got to say it right up front. The hiring of an attorney should not be based on any advertising or social media, and that this presentation is for information purposes only and does not constitute legal advice, does not form an attorney-client relationship. Yeah, we got it out of the way. All right. Estate planning for peace of mind. I feel like I'm an ally to my clients for peace of mind. I want to help families plan. I work with seniors for the most part. I work with the sandwich generation who have the children at home and the parents who are needing help, and then young families. So we often hear, well, I don't have a plan. I don't have a will or a trust in place. Oh, yes, you do. And it's called the estate plan. Did you know that if you don't put your plan in place, you take care of your own stuff, the state has a plan for you. And I don't know if a lot of people would like that plan. What it means is that if you don't have yours in place, well, all those assets could go to that long, long lost cousin in a foreign country or a different country. Anybody watch Hallmark around here? Yeah, no? Okay, well, they always have out of the blue some long lost relative that's going to become king. Well, that's what can happen to your estate if you don't have a plan in place. The state already has one for you. So let's talk planning, estate planning. Here is a big question that I get asked. What is the difference between a will and a trust? Always. Because some people get a little confused with living will, which is not a will. It is your end of life decision, and a will. And then they say, well, what are the differences? Why should I consider a trust over a will? I think I just need a will. Well, many people say they don't have enough for a trust. Oh, you don't have to be rich to have a trust. You don't. You can have a house, a savings account, bank account, and a car. That is good enough for a trust. So let's look at this. The will is a basic plan. And when you have a will, that means you're doing a beneficiary deed for your house. And a beneficiary deed is recorded before death. It must be recorded before death. I'm actually having to go through probate now for a house that did not get recorded before death, and the spouse did not get the house. So it's going to be an expensive probate because now we have to notify all his children that we have a house that's going through probate court, even though the wife has been living there and paying the mortgage. So the basic will set out who gets what. And a will, by law in Missouri, must be filed within the year. Have you ever had someone who said, oh, yeah, I got a will, but, I didn't file it for my mom, dad? All right. I've actually had a client walk in, will in hand of a deceased spouse. Here's my spouse's will. When did the spouse die? Oh, 2 years ago. No, it's not good. Can't do it. So if that will is not filed within 1 year of death, then we have to go into what's called a determination of heirship. And that is costly, and it is an in-person court hearing, and people have to be served. And I charge more for it. The will, whatever you say in the will, is public knowledge. Anybody on Ancestry.com doing genealogy? Has anybody looked up their long, long ancestors' will? Oh, well, if you haven't, give it a try. Because what was written 100, 200 years ago, and I have seen some, that were in the very beginnings of this country. And what is written today? It's public knowledge. Anybody can go to CaseNet, pull up somebody's name, and read their will and know exactly what they did with their whole estate, who they gave it to, and how much they gave. Okay? The will is only good at death, period. It is a death plan. That's it, death. It's a death plan. So the will takes care of only death, and it goes into effect at your death, period. Okay? Now let's look at this living trust. The living trust will protect all assets. You don't need to be rich. It sets out who gets what. You can amend it and revoke it, and it's private. It protects during incapacity, and that is a big difference. It protects during incapacity. It's good at death and lasts beyond death. And I like to call the living trust your life plan, okay? Because if you're incapacitated, someone steps in, either it's your spouse or it's a successor trustee, and manages your assets. And it's very important. And you can do different things with this trust. Okay? You can give out specific distributions, and it's private. You can say, I'm leaving the Okie Dokie Cocker Spaniel Club Rescue in whatever county $1,000, and you have that in your trust. Nobody else knows it, just your trustee. They probably go, wow, mom left $1,000 to the Okie Dokie Cocker Spaniel Rescue. Okay, it's not public, but can you imagine putting that in a will and everybody reading it going, what was she thinking? Okay, so amending and revoking, it's a lifelong process. And I like the living trust for a lot of reasons, because of the incapacity it takes care of. It sets out special language about what happens if someone becomes incapacitated. How is the trust managed? How much money does one get? And then it sets out what happens at death. And you can put all sorts of things in a living trust, and it stays private. You always get a pour over will with a living trust, because if you forget to put something in the trust, you got the bucket called the trust, and you put something in a trust and you forget some other thing, the pour over will goes, oh, it just goes back to the bucket called the trust. And that's all that gets filed in court. So I have that right now. I get them quite often. People have a living trust. Everything goes to the trust. Then the will gets filed. The trust is the beneficiary. So nobody knows what you did, because the trust is the beneficiary. And so the trust says who gets what and when. And you can do all sorts of nice things with the trust that you really can't do with a will. You can set out a spendthrift clause, like for that gambling addict or that alcoholic. You can say only they're not going to get so much money. They'll get a little bit at a time. We don't want to give them too much. So those are some things that you can do with a living trust. Okay. So CAP, public, death plan, private, life plan, and a death plan. That's the difference right there. Okay. You can see how I like the weight on the living trust. And one thing about it, you can have a will, and if you put it what's called a testamentary trust in it, you're just costing more money. If you say, well, I'm going to give everything to my husband, but I think he has a onset of dementia, so I'm going to make it a testamentary trust. Well, an attorney has to go in and create the testamentary trust that you just did in your will at death, and it's another expense, another cost. So you're adding layers of expense. So that's why, a trust sets it all out. All right, I want to talk another bit about powers of attorney, because I get this question. Why do I need powers of attorney? Anybody want to think why they would need a power of attorney? No? Well, there's two, and they're two big ones: financial and healthcare. The financial power of attorney is over the money. Over the money, that's it. And if something were to happen to you and you needed a financial power of attorney that can step in, pay the bills, hire attorneys, we can do different things with your money. We can have it immediate to a spouse, or we can have what we call springing. Sometimes when we have multiple marriages, we don't want to give everything to the spouse. We just want it to spring. So the financial power of attorney, if someone were to challenge going, oh, Dad set Joe as power of attorney, and I don't think Joe is taking care of the money very well, and I'm gonna go to court because Mom's not or Dad's not thinking very well. So here we go, probate court, right? Guess what the judge will do? The judge looks at the financial power of attorney. Well, when they had capacity, they named Joe. So therefore, Joe is the conservator. So they're not going to change your decision if you have a power of attorney in place. Okay, so it protects you. The health care is over the person. It's over the person who talks to the doctors and makes sure your end of life decisions are followed. If you think Susie cannot follow your end of life decision to take you off tube feeding, don't name Susie as your healthcare power of attorney. You want someone who is going to follow your decision-making process for end of life. Okay? So the healthcare power of attorney, they talk to the doctors, they have access to the medical records. Well, let's say you have two children and one of them doesn't want the other one being healthcare power of attorney, doesn't like the job, goes to court. Judge is going to look at it and say, they named this as power of attorney for the health, so she's the guardian. Another protection. But really what we want to do is stay out of probate court that makes the decisions for a conservator and a guardian. So we make these documents very tight. Now, documents like powers of attorney, they age. They are not a forever document. Okay, banks do not like them over 10 years old. So when they're old, banks look at it, say, because laws change. All right. So those are some different things for powers of attorney. Financial and healthcare. Avoid the pitfalls. I want you to think about this. You plan with an attorney. When you do it your way, you can mess it up because you don't know really what everything says. All these forms that are online, when you get them, I have some walking in my door right now. We're in probate court and it's going to be costly. I can tell you that if you use an attorney for your estate plan, you're saving your estate thousands of dollars, because I walked away from a probate of $225,000 with a $16,000 fee. Okay, just because people didn't do things right. You can have the estate plan or the DIY, do it yourself, cheap on the front, very expensive on the back end. I can't tell you, because I have another one where they thought they were just saying all sorts of beautiful stuff, and they did not say beautiful stuff, and I am having to go in, and we're in probate court. So when you try to do it yourself, or you just leave it up to the state, you're going to run into problems. Which brings me to what's going on in Missouri now. We have the new digital estate planning law. It's called the Digital Estate Planning Act. Anywhere in Missouri, you can sign it online with an online notary, online witnesses, but the documents come from an attorney. It's convenient. My firm is doing it. There's electronic witnesses, so people get big town service with the small town personal care. The difference is convenience, a little bit of the price. We still are paying for the electronic notaries. It's about a $250 fee, so we just consider it in value. Then you'll get the same quality. We're doing the same documents. It's not all these other forms that you pay $99 for, okay? You still get the same quality. We're not boilerplate. We'll still work with everyone. We'll still individualize your plan, and we do the value-added services. This is for busy parents. that we sometimes can't seem to get them in the office at the same time, professionals who are traveling around and can't seem to sit in the office at the same time to sign. So this is a new act in Missouri. We're still offering, we're still putting everything together and working with clients because I really don't want people going and buying the $99 form and then getting it notarized online. So basically, that's wills and trust in a nutshell. Tucker Legal Services, DBA, your estate ally, and thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Liam McLaughlin with McLaughlin Insurance Advisors, and today I'm just going to go over a quick Medicare 101. Medicare is very, very strict about what I can and can't talk about in an educational setting. So really with my clients, I just want to set a strong foundation, make sure everyone's on the same page, and then anyone who has any questions, we can meet on a one-off situation, what we'd call a marketing appointment. And Liam McLaughlin, owner of McLaughlin Insurance Advisors. So on our agenda, who's eligible for Medicare? What are your coverage options? When can I enroll? And what are our next steps? Who is eligible for Medicare is a U.S. citizen for 5 consecutive years, age 65 and older, under 65 with qualifying disability, or anyone with ALS or end-stage renal disease. The vast majority of people who are on Medicare are those turning 65. Now, you don't always have to accept Medicare at 65. If you have employer-based coverage, you can delay your enrollment into Medicare. But the majority of us, when we turn 65 on our 65th birthday, we're jumping right into Medicare. So your coverage options, a little bit of alphabet soup. I know a lot of my clients are very concerned about all their options. You've got A, B, C, and D, the parts A, B, and C, and D. And when you get into the Medicare supplements as well, those go A through N. So again, a big alphabet soup. I just want to start and lay a foundation for you guys. Part A and Part B together make up original Medicare. So when you turn 65, you go to medicare.gov and you apply for your Medicare benefits. You're going to get Part A and you're going to get Part B. Together, that's original Medicare. Part A is your inpatient hospital care. So anytime you end up in a hospital for services, any inpatient setting care that you receive is going to be billed through your Part A. Inpatient hospital care, inpatient mental health care, skilled nursing services, hospice care, and some blood transfusions. But really, to make it simple, inpatient Part A, outpatient Part B. Now, your Part A, that's what you've been paying your Social Security taxes for your entire life. If you've paid Social Security taxes for 40 quarters or 10 years, you're going to get your Part A for free. That Part A, that inpatient care, it has a $1,700 deductible on it in 2026. Means if you end up in the hospital on just original Medicare, you're responsible for $1,700 out of pocket. If you're in the hospital for more than 60 days, you're going to be responsible for an additional copay. A lot of times it's close to $400 a month. It can vary. Part B, that's your outpatient services. It's your physician services, ambulances, doctors' visits, laboratory services, physical, occupational, speech therapy. Everything done outside of the hospital is going to fall under Part B. Part B is what you pay your premium for. So for a lot of folks, that's going to be the $185 a month. That's coming out of your Social Security checks. That's your Part B. That was not paid for by your Social Security taxes. You were actively funding that every year. That $185 is going to be going up to $206 in 2026. And the reason for that is historically, most of the medical burden, most of the cost burden with Medicare fell into the Part A. The vast majority of our medical services were going to be done inpatient. That's where most of the bills are going to come from. But with our wonderful new medical technologies, a lot of those inpatient services are now going outpatient. So you used to have to stay overnight for a knee surgery. Now you can be in and out of an outpatient center in an afternoon with a knee surgery. And so that cost is now shifted from Part A to Part B. As more and more costs shift from Part A to Part B, you're going to see those increases in premium, which is why we've gone from $185 to $206.50. That $21 jump is a lot larger than we're used to, and it's a trend we're going to keep seeing, guys. As more and more is done in an outpatient setting, the cost of your Part B is going to continue to rise. An important thing to note is that Part B deductible has you have a $288 deductible, on Part B. So when you have any outpatient medical services done, On original Medicare, you have to come up with the first $288 yourself, and then they split the bill with you 80-20. So after the $288, they pay 80%, you pay 20%. What you don't see on there is a maximum out of pocket. So right there, what's not covered? The A and B deductibles are not covered. The co-insurance and the premiums are not covered. The Part B excess charges are not covered. What I'm really saying, guys, is when you turn 65 and you enroll in original Medicare, there's gaps. In a worst case scenario, you essentially have an infinite exposure to medical bills. That 20% that you're responsible for could theoretically continue on to infinity, as well if you're in the hospital, that's $1,700, as well as every day after the 60th day. If you're in the hospital for 200 days on 200 days on Part A with original Medicare, that's $400 every single day. That's going to add up. It's going to add up. It's going to add up. And so we need to do something with our original Medicare. We can't leave ourselves exposed to that infinite financial exposure. And we have two choices with that. I'm going to skip through the Part D. So we have two choices with this. We can either convert it into a Medicare Advantage policy, or we can supplement it with a Medicare supplement. Those are our two options to fill in the gaps in our coverage. So a Medicare Advantage plan, also called a Part C, I know a lot of alphabets. It takes your Part A, it takes your Part B, and your prescription drug and puts them all together into one package. Offered by private insurance companies. If anyone does any driving on these wonderful highways, you're going to see Essence and Aetna and Devoted and UHC and all these billboards for Medicare Advantage policies trying to convince you to sign up for those policies. There's a lot of good things about Medicare Advantage policies. What I like to tell my clients, it's a very pro-consumer capitalistic environment. So United Healthcare offers $1,000 in free dental. Aetna wants your business, so they're going to give you $1,500 in free dental. And Essence comes out with $2,000 in free dental. These are hypothetical figures, but they're always, what I'm getting at is that they're always trying to one-up each other. There's a lot of competition that favors the consumer on the Medicare Advantage side. And one reason why it's really, really important to shop your Medicare Advantage policies each year, because who was the best option in 2023 is almost certainly not going to be the best option in 2025. Those benefits ebb and flow each year, especially with the profit and loss of each respective company. For the longest time, Aetna was my favorite carrier, and then they posted a very large loss, lost a lot of money. Their stockholders got very upset, and they started to strip away the benefits like the free golf. Aetna used to offer free golf. They cover all your greens fees until midway this year, and they took that away because they were losing too much money. With the Medicare Advantage policies, so you're going to, just to kind of sidestep this slide for a sec, it's going to be your A and B combined, and you're going to get your prescription drug. The big thing with all of that combination is that you're now going to be given a deductible and a max out of pocket. That deductible is usually $0. So from your first dollar spent, you're receiving immediate benefits. But more importantly, you have a max out of pocket or a stop spend on your loss. So an example, the Aetna Medicare Gold Advantage policy this year, the max out of pocket is $2,500. So in a worst case scenario, your medical bills are limited at $2,500, covering up the gaps we had in original Medicare. In addition to that max out of pocket, there's dental, there's vision, gym memberships, there used to be golf. And each carrier and Advantage policy is going to have their own combination of benefits, but they all will have a maximum out of pocket. Again, covering the gaps in original Medicare and doing what I think is most important, making sure no one goes bankrupt if they end up with a bad hospital stay. Within those Medicare Advantage policies and all of those benefits is an important distinction. There's a lot of things up there, but I want people to look at is the HMO versus the PPO. With Medicare Advantage, really it's a very binary decision between HMOs and PPOs. For those of you who can comfortably receive all of the care that you desire in your service area, in your HMO regional network. So here in St. Louis, it's going to be the greater St. Louis area from the Mississippi River all the way probably to the Wentzville area, the greater St. Louis area. You'll have access to a wide host of doctors. But on an HMO, if someone tells you the best foot doctor, the best foot surgeon's up in Chicago, you can't go up to Chicago to see that doctor that is outside of your regional HMO network. Also for people who live in multiple states, so a lot of my clients live in Florida, also live in Missouri, it's not going to travel well between the two states. So the solution to that is to enroll in a PPO program or PPO policy, which is going to be a nationwide network. Whether you're living in St. Louis, whether you're in California for a vacation, whether the best doctors in Rochester, Minnesota at the Mayo Clinic, you're going to have access to the nationwide network of doctors with a PPO. So that's an important distinction to make. The other alternative to the Medicare Advantage policy is to take that A and B and to just purchase an additional supplement and kind of stack it on top. So we're not converting the original Medicare, we're just adding a supplement literally on top. And so those are A through N, a bunch more letters. But essentially what those do is they say that we're going to help cover the gaps in original Medicare. The most common Medicare supplement we sell these days is a Plan G. And what the Plan G says is we're going to cover that Part A deductible. So that $1,700 you were originally exposed to, the Plan G is going to cover it. The 61st hospital day and all the days onwards that you're going to have the $400 copay for, the Plan G is going to cover it. And then that pesky 20% on your outpatient care, again, that's going to be picked up by the Plan G. So if you're following along, and I know it can be kind of Spanglish sometimes, with your Medicare supplement, the only thing you are going to be responsible for is that $288 Part B deductible. Once you've met that, between the 80% from original Medicare and the 20% from the Medicare supplement, you have no additional cost for your outpatient care. And again, it's covering your Part A deductible and everything that happens on the inpatient side. So Medicare supplements you can kind of think of them like prepaying your medical bills. It's going to cost you more to go the Medicare supplement route, but you have essentially no exposure outside of that $288 deductible, which for most people is very manageable. They are sold by private insurance companies. What that really means is that they're all going to kind of compete with each other to offer you the best price, but the benefits are outlined by the federal government, and all the Plan Gs, regardless of carrier, are going to have the exact same benefits. Just set at a federal level. An important thing to note when you're purchasing a Medicare supplement policy is you need to look not just at the price, but the longevity and financial strength of the company. So we really like to look at the profit and loss ratio of companies. And what that means is a percentage of premiums, what percentage of the premiums coming in are then spent out on claims. A healthy ratio is between 70 and 90% of the premium that comes in is spent back on clients. If a company is spending less than 70% of their premiums on their clients, then they're keeping too much money for themselves. But if you start to see a company that's spending upwards of 90%, sometimes even 100 to 105% of their premiums on their clients, you know they're losing money. They're effectively buying up the market, and in a few years, those prices are going to raise. So it's really important to find a carrier that has a healthy profit and loss ratio. You know what the price they're charging is reasonable, and it's going to be stable. The last thing you want to do is enroll with that new company on the block who's charging $50 less than the competition. They go underwater, and in 2 years, they're charging you $300 a month, and you're stuck on that Medicare supplement. So there's several good options out there, but you want a trusted brand name when you're looking at your Medicare supplements. And so you're kind of outlining again your two plan choices that are enroll in original Medicare, add a Medicare supplement in a Part D. You take your inpatient, your outpatient, throw the supplement on top to cover the gaps, and you purchase a separate Part D prescription drug plan, or you convert it right into a Part C, which does usually include the prescription drug coverage. When can I enroll? You can apply the 3 months before you turn 65, and you're eligible to start Medicare on the first day of the month of your 65th birthday, unless you're born on the 1st, and that starts the month preceding. And then again, you're eligible 3 months after. So there's kind of a 7-month window in there. In today's world, I encourage my clients to apply the full 90 days ahead of time. With the struggles we're having with the post office, why leave anything to chance? Apply as early as possible. Make sure all the letters, all the documents get sent to you, with proper time. The worst thing I see is people applying a month before. I had a client who had a 10-1 start date, and he got his Medicare card on 9/30. That left him effectively 12 hours to make a decision on his Medicare for the rest of the years. Not a good situation. Please do not wait until the last month before you turn 65 to apply for Medicare. If you're working past age 65, then your Medicare is going to start when you discontinue that employer policy. So I have clients who are 65 years old. They work at Boeing. Boeing pays 100% of their medical care costs and their medical premiums. There's no reason to enroll in Medicare. But once they leave that Boeing group plan, they need to immediately jump onto a Medicare policy, and that creates a special enrollment period. Another big distinction, if there's one thing, honestly, guys, that you take away from this educational event, it's your Medicare supplement guaranteed issue window. So when you first turn 65 and you're choosing between a Medicare supplement and a Medicare Advantage policy, what you need to understand is that you have guaranteed issue rights into a Medicare supplement. What does that mean? The carriers who are agreeing to write you a blank check for 20% to infinity, covering the gaps in your original Medicare, they want to underwrite you. They want to know what they're getting into. They want to know what risks you bring. If you're currently battling cancer, they would love to charge you more because they know there's more and more likely the risk is higher that they're going to have a large claim to pay out. When you first turn 65 or when you first take Medicare, you have 6 months for guaranteed issue enrollment into a Medicare supplement, which means you get to sneak into that Medicare supplement regardless of health at the lowest possible rate. After the 6 months are over, if you want to apply for the Medicare supplement, they're going to charge you and underwrite you based on your health. So I have a client right now, his policy is going to run him this is just one client, $170 a month for the guaranteed issue policy. And if you wait 6 months, it's going to be $399 a month. So it's important that he knows that now. And when I say that distinction, a lot of people like Medicare Advantage. And they say, well, why do I want to pay all this money for Medicare supplement now? I can go to the Medicare Advantage, get my dental, get my vision. That's absolutely true. But God forbid the worst is to happen and you realize the Medicare supplement is now the best choice for you. There's no easy way onto that. They're going to charge you out the wazoo, and it will no longer be a value efficient process. So when people are applying for Medicare, turning 65, I really want you to think long and hard about, are you willing to pay a little bit more each month now to know when the worst happens, you have the best possible coverage? Or are you a little bit more of a risk taker? You want to get the dental, the vision, maybe a little bit more price efficient now. And if the worst is to happen, you're okay with having a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 max out of pocket each year, is that's the risk you took. So really an important distinction, guys, is to really think long and hard on the Medicare supplement versus the Medicare Advantage route. Because if you pass up the Medicare supplement when you first turn 65, it's not quite that you're stuck with Medicare Advantage, but it's really, really quite hard to get off of Medicare Advantage and go back to the Medicare supplement. Each year, regardless of whether you're on a Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage policy, you have your annual enrollment period that starts next Wednesday, October 15th each year and runs through December 7th. That is your annual election period for your policy starting the next calendar year. So my clients and I were working together for the next 2 months to determine what's the best option for them for 2026, and that coverage will take effect on January 1st. There's also an open enrollment period, January 1st through March 31st, where if you are on a Medicare Advantage policy, you can make another change as well. And then there are special enrollment periods. So if you move to a new area, they discontinue your current policy. That's a special enrollment period, receiving skilled nursing or low-income Medicaid. And then one thing they probably don't want me to tell you, but they kind of have these fictitious SEPs throughout the year where if there's a hurricane, a tornado, these blizzards, these kind of natural disasters, they create a special enrollment period specifically for that disaster where theoretically it's for anyone who wanted to meet with their Medicare broker or wanted to meet with a Medicare agent but couldn't due to the natural disaster. It creates a special enrollment period for them. Now, the government's not going to ask you for proof of why you couldn't meet with your Medicare broker for 2 months after the tornado. They'll take your word for it. So whenever there's a natural disaster, there will be a special enrollment period that you can use to make a change outside of those enrollment periods. Next step is to review enrollment periods, research your options, ask questions, and seek help. And honestly, the most important, guys, is a yearly review. Every year, you have the option to change policies. And if you're working with a broker, what I like to say is if you're working with a broker, they're getting paid on your policy. The least they can do is call you every year, walk you through your options, and tell you why what you've got is still the best option or why you might want to consider making a move somewhere else. But if you're working with a broker and they are not calling you every year, find a new broker. It's really important to review your options each year. Thank you for your time. And up next is Cynthia Hoffman.
Good. Sure. Everybody want to stretch for a second? Get up for a second. Been sitting there for a little while. Okay, yeah. Feel free to get up and stretch for a minute. All right. Well, this is me. My company is Best Life Advisors, and I am a daily money manager. 3 words that most people have never heard put together because we are a small niche organization, or a small niche profession, I should say, that is rapidly growing, primarily because people are aging. People are aging at a point where their health is good, then their health is bad. They have special needs in terms of living spaces. And over time, that process of aging can become overwhelming to both them and their families. Their adult children who have to help support them and figure out how to make things work for mom and dad, or a brother or sister, or a grandparent, becomes complicated. So I say that we bring clarity and order to your financial life. It's up here. A daily money manager is a new profession, and if you're looking for a daily money manager, you are going to look for someone who is background checked. You're going to look for someone who has special insurance, primarily for errors and omissions, which is the same kind of insurance that many of my colleagues carry. If we make a mistake, you've got insurance coverage. We make sure that we are, in my situation, we're members of the American Association of Daily Money Managers. It's a professional organization that sets out codes of ethics and standards of practice that make sure that we are doing things above board and working as a fiduciary for our clients' benefits. So that's a little bit about me. So I say daily money managers help. And when I talk about that, I talk to my clients in terms of, we don't make decisions for them. We walk alongside our clients and we help them with their day-to-day, very small tasks in many places, and in some cases, very large tasks where we're working with people in our team here, where they're trying to make decisions about big events in their life. But our job is to walk alongside people and help them through that process and help them find the right resources. We're not just bill payers. That's, daily money managers, many people think of as we help people pay their bills, because that's the main thing that most people do in their life, is you make sure you get the checkbook out and get all your bills paid so that your utilities stay on. But we help people get their finances organized for those times when life gets lifey, when things get difficult, or there's an emergency or a health crisis, or just a change in life where you want to go on a big vacation and someone's, you're going to be gone for 4 weeks. Somebody's got to make sure that things are taken care of. Our company, we have something called a whole life list. And there are many resources now for people to pull all of their information together into a nice, neat little package. There are some online resources now where companies are coming in and offering you places to leave your all your key documents and things in a digital place. We have something just as a simple piece of paper. It's all done on the computer, but we keep everyone's information together in one simple file, so that if their children need to take over for a period of time and help pay bills, we can hand it off to someone who's their power of attorney or their trustee. But we call that our whole life list, because we're going down to the granular level. We're talking about all the little details of their life. So we work on financial organization. We deal with all those expenses that happen in life that you're already doing for yourself. We help you when you're overwhelmed in doing those kinds of things. But we're also working with our clients to promote safety, particularly when it has to do with fraud. Many times we will go to the bank with our clients and help them through a situation where there's been some kind of incursion into their bank account. And again, we walk alongside them, we work with the bankers, and we help them get through that process. So we're a watchdog for them. And stress reduction is a big thing for many people. As we get older, there's just a lot of things that can be overwhelming. And so part of what we do is just help our clients reduce their stress load by helping them get through the day-to-day things in their life. Who do we work with? This is a pretty good overview of the kinds of people we work with. It can be not just older adults. It can be people in different stages of their life where they need assistance. We have one client who has just had her 6th child. She's a relatively young woman. She has a mother who's in care, and we have a team of people that help her mother, but she just needs help herself trying to keep her mother's situation and everything together, as well as run her own life. So we support her with that kind of thing. We also work with people who have disabilities, maybe Parkinson's, ALS, all kinds of things. People who have children with special needs, maybe they're overwhelmed by the requirements of taking care of those children. And so again, we come in and support them in the finances of their life, because it may be a lot to be a caretaker and then do everything that you normally do to keep your finances together at the same time. We also work with professionals. So business owners, busy professionals. We have a doctor in New York who has a mother here in care, and we've just kind of been his everything here locally. We take care of the house he has a house here that she used to live in. They have a business. We just kind of help him pull things together. He'll just say, can you fax this? Can you do this? Can you do that? So in many ways, we are a personal assistant as well. And then, as I said here in the last, we help people through their life transitions. So we help people who are trustees or people who are powers of attorney, people who maybe are conservators already for their family, getting the paperwork and the details done in those situations. So let me just talk again a little more specifically about what is a daily money manager. I like to say that we're specialists and we're generalists. We get into, as I said, the minute details of financial life, literally like helping people keep their checkbooks. We usually do it in a little more online way, but we help people make sure their checkbooks are balanced, and those kinds of things are happening on a very granular level. But we also are generalists. So we will work with people to have their documents taken to an attorney and make sure that the things that they want to have changed are changed in their trust and end of life plans. We'll work with their insurance person and their financial advisor and all of the other resources that are there in their life to make sure that goes smoothly. So we're sort of a hub, and that's why I say we're a generalist. We know a lot about a lot of things. We don't know the specifics that people like Chris and other people know the specifics of their field, but we know a little bit about everything. And so we can help clients get to the right place for the right thing. We do, as I said, reconcile accounts. We help with medical billing errors. We help make sure that people have the cash flow they need. Many times the financial advisor will say, give me an estimate of what your bills are, and they try to project out where they're going to be for their retirement. Well, we help them actually see what they really are spending, so that when they give their financial advisor the numbers, that those numbers are real, not what somebody thinks they spend, but what they actually are spending. And particularly as someone gets older and starts to make a transition from maybe their home to a living situation like independent or assisted living, those numbers become really important as you start thinking about spending down your assets. We work with key people, so we work with key advisors for all of the people that you might have, from your home insurance person to we work with care people, the care managers, or people who are actually coming in the home to manage care. Those bills all have to get paid, so we're trying to make sure that all those things happen in an orderly way. I had a care manager at a client today, and she called and she said, just got something in the mail, and she sent me a picture of it. It's like, okay, now we need to call the daughter and we need to deal with this. We've got a safe deposit box that we didn't know about. So surprise, those things come in the mail, and if someone loses that or it goes into the trash, suddenly you've got a little problem that will sort of you'll end up finding it eventually, but it will rear its ugly head at the craziest times. I had one client who they had all their bills would come to their house, but they would disappear, and we couldn't get them to put their mail all in one place. And one day, a friend of theirs said, "What about this?" Well, they had you know this story, Liam. They had a thing saying their health insurance, their prescription plan was being discontinued, and it was like a few days before. And Liam came out and took care of that. But you have to have someone in the home who knows what's actually going on. So I say, in many ways, I'm boots on the ground. Creating the systems, helping to make sure that there is a system and a flow for how things happen. Sometimes people don't like to manage their mail, though. But things come in the mail that are really important. And even today, even with the post office being what it is, email or mail are really, it's important to be able to review that and make sure you know what really is trash and what is not. It sounds very simple, but it actually can get very complicated. So here's some things that a professional daily money manager might see. Unusual financial activity. You can find situations where maybe there's a whole bunch of payments going out. And one situation with a maintenance man who was a good friend of the family, very entwined with the woman who lived in her home by herself. And there were lots of payments going on, and they were all even dollar payments. Like, oh, what's going on here? And it ended up, when you start adding it up, it ended up to be a lot of money. And so the daughter had to come in, and we had to work with the parent to try to take some of the things away from that person and make sure they knew we were watching what was going on. Changes in client behavior. As people age, sometimes you see small indicators of future dementia, or you might have something where a client starts hiding things and suddenly, okay, you don't know what's going on. And one of my people that we spoke with, very well educated people who owned a business, and the wife apparently got into some kind of fraud situation, but she didn't realize it was a fraud, it was a scam. And she ended up kind of sneaking around and doing some things. And finally, I got such a kick. Her husband said, she said, I found her at the gas station and she was putting money into the Bitcoin machine because this person had convinced her that she needed to go and pay this bill. And so she was frantic. But very, very well educated person, but they can get you sucked into these things. And so we try to put things in place to prevent that kind of thing from happening and educate our clients as to the things that are out there as far as scams. We look at things like unpaid bills, missed payments, late fees, duplicate payments, increasing credit card debt. A lot of things can happen in people's lives that they just don't even pay attention to. And many times it's small things, but they add up to a lot of money. So I had one client that she was paying for 5 Spectrum, they call those things, the Spectrum things where you buy the little thing and it's the thing that you put it on all your TVs. She only had 2 TVs. She had been paying for 5 since she divorced, which was over 10 years ago. Little things that just kept sucking money out of her. She had 2 phone numbers on one phone. She didn't even know she had 2 phone numbers, but she was paying for those. She'd been doing that for like 3 or 4 years. So sometimes we get into a habit of just, oh, that's what the bill is. It's pretty much normal. I had one client that had a huge water bill, and it was like, this is way too much. And we went back and looked at the history, and we found out that she had big leaks. She had a pond leak and a problem with their sprinkler. So we're kind of a watchdog for those kinds of things as well. We look for new or unusual or excessive payments, donations. Many times older adults will have subscriptions and something will come in the mail and they'll think, well, I have to pay this bill. It looks like a bill. It's actually just a company trying to get your money. And you send them the money and then they send you another thing that says you owe something else. And suddenly you're getting things in the mail, but they're not things you really wanted. They're just things that happened because you forgot that that wasn't something you ordered. Multiple subscriptions. Magazine renewals are crazy. They send you things 2 years before your subscription actually renews, and people pay it, and then their subscription is another 2 or 3 years beyond what the year and a half that it's later. So we're looking at the details of people's lives and making sure that they're not spending that kind of money. So we are essentially, in many ways, a financial concierge. We are there to take care of lots of little things that happen in people's lives that they may or may not know what to do with. But it could be the bill pay and getting those things set up automatically and then kind of watching cash flow. Or it could be things as simple as helping them make sure that all those Amazon things got returned, or making sure that things get to the post office and get certified. It's really as simple as that, but it can get very complicated. We've had clients where we've worked with a financial advisor who realized that the client had literally $1 million sitting in the bank earning nothing, earning a very small amount of interest. But it took months to get that all figured out, retitled, and moved over into the financial advisor's pool so that things could be invested and money could be earned on that money. But it wasn't something that person could do. So, in conjunction with their family, we made sure that that happened. So it can be very interesting and complicated. It can also be very simple things where we're just supporting someone in their home as they're waiting to move into assisted living, and supporting the family who maybe has other things that they need to be doing. So we work with the estate planners, the lawyers. We can do things like retitling accounts. If they put things in a trust, we help them get everything in the right place in cooperation with the lawyers. We can help people who are doing Medicaid applications get all that information pulled together. We can help you with tax time when it's just a matter of pulling those numbers together for your tax accountant. Financial advisors, obviously, to keep your plans in line with reality. As I said, trustees, estate representatives, we can support those people. We can also, at some point in time, be those people. We don't do that on a regular basis, but it is something that we are able to do. We work with insurance agents. But again, back to the details. We are very detailed in what we do, and we track deadlines. And are your car tags ready to renew? Is your passport renewed? All the way down into the end of life plans. So where are you going to be buried? Do you want to prepay that? Do you know what you want in the future? So those are the kinds of things that we look at. But I guess my takeaway here is we do more than just pay bills. Many people think of daily money managers as bill payers. It's an important role, but we do much more than that. And really, anyone can use a daily money manager. You don't have to be an older adult. You don't have to be someone who, You could even be someone who's very qualified to do what you do. You just don't want to spend your time and energy there. Especially as you get older, you want to spend your time and energy on the things you love doing. And perhaps that's taking care of your grandchildren or traveling, whatever it is. So anyone can use a daily money manager. And the key thing here is we work with all these fine people because everybody has some piece of the puzzle, right? As Chris said. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Howe, and I'm here with my family, actually, my wife, Lisa, and our daughter, Mackenzie. You've already met her. And we're here to talk a little bit about senior living and what that looks like today. It's interesting. And then we'll tell you a little bit our role in that and what we do and how we help people navigate that whole process. I think one of the first things I wanted to share with you is, everybody over here, planning, prepare, get in front of this, be all ready. I hate to say it, in our world, our call comes when people are upside down and they need help and mom can't go home. And, so I wish we got a lot of planners, and I hope that by the work that we've done over the last 10 years in educating good folks like you, that slowly but surely we're talking about senior living in a way that's different than what I think most of the seniors today think of. When their daughter says it's time to go to senior living, Dad, it's all they're thinking. They're going to an old smelly nursing home that their grandmother was in. And I think the point we're trying to make is that it's far different today. And we're going to share a little bit about that today to make sure you maybe get a different taste of what that's really like. So a little over 10 years ago, I started a little business here in St. Louis called Assisted Living Locators. And it wasn't long, the business started to pick up. And about a little over 4 years ago, I guess now, Mackenzie joined me in the business, and we've continued to work it, and things have grown. And actually, Lisa, my wife, pivoted into the business at the beginning of this year. So now it's truly a family business. Like we like to say, it's our family helping yours figure this whole situation out. We help people find senior living, quite simply. We plug in deep with them and we figure out what they need, what they want, what they can afford. And we obviously are looking at today and tomorrow to try to figure all this out. And then we help them and stand by their side all the way through the process to help them figure out the right place for them. I think probably the best part about everything we do is it's a free service to the families we help. 100% free, no strings attached. The communities pay us a referral fee if somebody would move into their community. And the reason is simple. We do their job for them. We get to know these people, figure everything out, and kind of serve the families up on a silver platter to make sure this is a right fit. Excuse me. So it's a great little service. It's a family business. We love it. It's just a really good business to be in. I wanted to share one thing with you before I turn it over to Mackenzie, because we're all going to share a little bit of part of this. But you can see by this chart why our business is important today and why it's going to continue to grow. The headline of this chart, the yellow, is simply that by 2030, there's going to be 1 in 5 Americans that are over the age of 65. We've all been reading about this and talking about this for many years, but the reality is it's right in front of us. It's here. And there's a lot of customers, there's a lot of clients to serve, to help, and it's a pleasure for us to do that. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Mackenzie. She's going to talk a little bit about the levels of senior living, and we'll go from there.
Hello again. Okay, let's explore the different levels of senior living because there really is something for every senior. So the first level of care is independent living. Independent living is perfect for healthy, active seniors looking to enjoy life. The lifestyle is easy and it's convenient. 1 to 3 meals per day are provided depending on the community. housekeeping and maintenance is taken care of. It's all the freedom of living independently, but with the perks of not cooking as much, no chores, and no home maintenance. Many residents still drive in this level of care. You can even bring your furry friends, you can bring your pets along in this level of care as well. So in all of the levels of senior living, many activities are provided daily. You can participate in as many or as little as you would like to create your own personal daily schedule, whatever fits and feels comfortable for you. In independent living, we kind of joke it's like this vacation, or like almost like a cruise ship. There is always something going on, all sorts of fun things going on, from group trips to wineries or the casino to pickleball to um, book clubs, gardening clubs, exercise classes, weekly happy hour with live music. There's always something going on. It's a very, very vibrant level of care. The next level of care is assisted living. And assisted living is designed for people that want to stay as independent as possible, but may need a little extra assistance with their activities of daily living, okay, such as bathing, dressing, or medicine management. In this level of care, safety is very important. In all of the apartments in an assisted living building, there are 2 pull cords, one in the bathroom and one in the bedroom. And then also a lot of them provide like a pendant you can wear around your neck or as a bracelet that you can push at any time, and help will be on the way. This gives peace of mind to the residents and also to their family members. There are plenty of opportunities for assisted living residents to stay active and social as well. Bingo is a big hit, as I'm sure you can imagine. There are a lot of seated exercise classes, which is kind of cool. So you can do like seated ballet, seated Tai Chi, seated yoga. There are outings in assisted living as well, art classes, gardening, plenty of things to stay active and as social as you want. The next level of care is memory care. Memory care offers specialized care for those with Alzheimer's and dementia. This creates a safe, secure, and engaging environment. They provide support for residents' physical and cognitive well-being through activities and social interaction. Memory care communities focus on meaningful experiences for seniors through engaging activities that foster connection and support their memory. So imagine like singing along to your favorite show tune or Elvis song. You'd be surprised by how many people don't really remember what they ate for lunch earlier that day, but can still remember every word to their favorite Frank Sinatra song. This brings happy memories. Memory care communities try to fill each day with as many moments of joy and smiles as possible. And then the final level of care is skilled nursing. And skilled nursing is for residents who require assistance with most to all activities of daily living. They often need 2 caregivers to transfer them and may have complex medical needs due to serious health conditions. Round-the-clock nursing care is provided here, so a licensed nurse is available day or night for assistance. This care is often long-term and tailored to keep residents comfortable and supported. They try to keep life as engaging as possible in this level of care as well. They have, once again, seated exercise. They have bingo, arts and crafts. Music and pet therapy is also really popular and huge in this level of care. Now on to my mom, Lisa.
So some of our favorite communities are CCRCs, which are Continuum Care Retirement Communities. And sorry, I wasn't close enough to the mic. And because they have every level of care in the same community. So if somebody moves in with independent living, but then
5 years down the road they could benefit from assisted, they can easily transition to the next level. So independent living, assisted living, memory care, and also skilled nursing. You know, this sort of compares all the levels of senior living because we're a little behind schedule. I'm just going to breeze through it. But Mackenzie already talked about independent, assisted, memory care, and skilled nursing, the type of residence and the services provided. But then this shows approximate monthly costs. So for independent living, it ranges anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 plus per month because, and it's all dependent on the size of the apartment and the community. Assisted living, 4,500 to 8,000, and again, some of those it's apartment plus care, and some are all inclusive. Memory care, 5,700 to over 10,000, and nursing ranges anywhere from 9 to 14, again, depending on the community and the amount of care required. And it's like, how do we pay for this? And again, Christopher's services are very beneficial with this. But again, thinking monthly income, Social Security, pension, then if they need more money, dip into their savings, stocks, mutual funds, CDs, sale of the house. Long-term care insurance is very beneficial. My mom had dementia and it paid for half of her monthly fees when she was living in a community. Veteran aid and attendance, that's for also the veteran if they were active duty during wartime and their spouse can benefit from that and they can qualify to also assist with that. Medicaid can, when all the financial assets are depleted, people can apply for Medicaid to help for payment, but Medicaid only pays for skilled nursing. And then Medicare doesn't pay anything for senior living. It only pays for your doctor visits, your medications like they do now, and then also therapy, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. So we love what we do. I'm an occupational therapist by background, and I was the manager at Mercy for 20 years of outpatient therapy. And to be honest, before Rob started this business, we had to place my mom, my dad, and we couldn't take care of her at home anymore. And we picked a place, weren't happy. A year later, picked someplace else. Then a couple of years, we weren't happy still because I thought being a medical professional, I would know everything. Well, Rob started the business and then he helped place my mom in the last place where she ended her journey. And it was the best thing ever. So this isn't just a job to us, we understand. And it's really a passion to help people the best we can because we all know how stressful and difficult this is. And we're there to hold the hand, make it smooth as possible to help whenever anybody is interested. If you want a cruise ship and independent living, or if your family member needs skilled nursing or for you. So we appreciate your time and thank you very much. Next is Donna.
Good evening. My name is Donna Carrillo. I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker Gundecker, and I'm going to focus in tonight on downsizing. A little bit about me. I spent 27 years as a special education teacher, and prior to that, can you hear me? I was involved in the hospitality industry. And right now, I'm also a volunteer for the state of Missouri. I'm an educational surrogate. And tonight I'm going to talk, like I said, a little bit about downsizing, a little bit about what senior real estate specialists do. We're going to talk a little bit about the times, the right time to move, the conflicts that can arise, challenges, and the process, and then the benefits of downsizing. I always say right sizing because it's not always about a smaller home. And when I'm talking about downsizing, I'm also talking about not just a smaller home square footage, I'm talking about senior living also, the senior community. So here we go. But before I start, I'd like to introduce you to my mama. My beautiful mama is 102 right now. And that picture is 101, though, I've got to be honest. and in, let's see, just 3 months, she's going to be 103. So really proud of my mom. She's my why. She's my why when I talk about wanting to help seniors. She's been 4 years in the nursing home. She didn't have to go there until she was like 97. And my dad was in a nursing home for 4 years, so I'm really familiar with the senior crowd. I'm a senior, of course, too, and I've been a senior a long time. I don't know why I have more gray hair than my mom. Can't explain that. But she's just visiting the nursing home. I try to go every other day. She lives in Sullivan, and you're from Washington, so you know where that's at. And I love talking to the seniors, hearing their stories and laughing with them. It's just something I'm very passionate about. So tonight we're gonna talk with first slide. Yes. What makes senior real estate agent a specialist? Well, we have intensive training, and some of the topics areas we cover were logistics, financial concerns, and emotional concerns. And of course, we have a network of specialists. And right in this room, the beauty of this group is we meet every month and we get to know each other and we trust each other. We also provide a service-oriented approach, no pressure. We're on your timeline, not ours. We just want to, I feel like I'm a resource, a consultant, if you will. Demonstrates compassion and patience. Well, I think anybody supporting services for seniors should be compassionate, for sure, and patient. Is it time to make a move? When's the best time to make a move? Anybody know? Yeah, you got it. Before you need to, before there's a crisis, that's when the best time to move is. Or if your house, if you're, noticing you don't even use some of the rooms in your house. Like we have one of those rooms. Oh, wait a minute. We do music. We use it once a year for 3 hours. Christmas, we open presents in the great room, but we're heating and cooling that room all year. And the yard and all the reoccurring maintenance, the seasonal kind of maintenance that really adds up. So deteriorating health is another reason sometimes to make the move. I always think of mobility and safety. My mom had about 10 years of in-home care before she went into the nursing home. And we knew when it was time. She went right into skilled nursing because it wasn't just a safety concern for my mom, but a safety concern for her caregivers. 24 hours she had caregivers, and it was for them too. It just couldn't be done. Couldn't keep her at home, but that's okay. It turned out really well. She's really happy. A major life event, such as the loss of a loved one, or maybe a silver divorce. There's all kinds of life issues that may necessitate a move. Desire to move closer to the children, grandchildren. That's one we hear a lot, but I bet you don't hear this one. Seniors move into their children's house. Like 15% of the adults move into their children's house. And that's from the Southern Living survey they did. So, and ready just for a lifestyle change. It doesn't have to be a square foot. It just means your activity level. You want maybe a country cottage, or maybe you want to be in an area where you can walk to the restaurants, the libraries, across the street from the church. You've got all kinds of reasons to want to change your lifestyle. Common challenges and concerns. Will I have enough space? Well, when we age, a lot of us, we are looking more to about making memories instead of accumulating stuff. So I feel like it's not, you ask yourself, I looked around the house and I thought, what really matters to me? And it really kind of woke me up. It's like really what matters is not the stuff. And I think the trend is to simplify your life a little bit. And I think it's the younger generation too that's interested in simplification instead of accumulation of junk. Family conflict is another one. And I always think of misplaced anger, because when you've got a transition going on, there's a lot of emotions, feelings. If your kids are involved in your move, it could be just not, they're not mad at you, or they just are mad at the situation. Effects of a sale on future income and tax ramifications. That's where our specialists come in, and it's always important before you make a decision about relocation and move to contact your attorney, your financial advisor, etc. Helping senior and families navigate the process. Feel strongly about giving the parents the power and help make choices. Establish ownership. If they can have ownership, they're more likely to carry out and agree with the outcome. So involve them, validate their emotions. That's so important. And ensure them that they're not alone, and this goes for the whole family. There's so many resources available out there to help with the transition. Process may be overwhelming. Patience is the key. I think it's real important to break these tasks down into smaller tasks to establish a sense of achievement. That goes a long way. Focus on the benefits. I read something the other day about a realtor helping the family make a vision board. And I thought that was a great idea, because it's something they can refer to. This is what it's going to look like when we get through all of this, chaos and all the paperwork. It's going to look like this. And it's something that they can go back to and visualize their goals. Pick your battles, of course. Sometimes friends or close neighbors are a good resource. Sometimes we listen to them more than we do close family members. So it's just something to keep in mind. You might present an idea as a family member. They might disregard it, but maybe a friend or a neighbor would present the same idea and they might go for it. Benefits of downsizing, of course, there's financial benefits. Tapping in the home equity, you can buy a vacation home, or maybe give your grandchild a down payment for a car, anything, and then easier upkeep equals more freedom. You can maybe start a hobby, lifestyle change, all the benefits, and a peace of mind, less stress. And that goes for not just the senior, but also their family. It's very stressful. It's just comforting to know that they're in a safe place, that they're being taken care of. So that's when I decided to become a realtor just a couple of years ago, like I said, and it was because my mom was in a safe place. Real quick, I wanted to tell you too that 95% of people want to stay in their own home. And that's a trend. But only 10% of those homes are aging in place ready. And that's from a publication from the National Real Estate Association. Okay. All right, Tisha.
Well, I am the last of the team to go, and what a great team we have put together here. Everybody just experts in their field, right? They've done a great presentations tonight. Well, my name is Tisha Peel, and that's not me, that's Donna. But what a great person to follow, because you are correct. And what I do is I organize people's homes and I get the home ready for them to either A, stay in because they want to stay in place, the 95% of the people that you're speaking about, to make it safe for them to stay in. So I'm the owner and operator of STL Organizing Solutions, and my tagline is Your Life Simplified. So that's exactly what I want to help you do. I want to help you simplify your life. I established the business in 2017, and under there it says helping seniors simplify the process of decluttering, downsizing, and transitioning smoothly into the next chapter with compassion and care. And I think you can tell all of us that have spoken tonight are very passionate about what we do and do it out of for care. We care about people and we want to help seniors. So what do I do? What does a professional organizer / mover do? Well, I create, like I said, the people that want to stay in their homes, I create a clutter-free living space for in-home safety, because a lot of people do have a lot of clutter. They've been in their homes for 40 to 50 years, have a lot of things, and a lot of things can get in the way. Boxes, magazines, you name it, just things that they tend to keep. So making the kitchen safer, the bedroom safer, their storage area. I know a lot of people don't go to the storage area very often, but when we do, if it's too jam-packed and you can't get around it, then the storage area needs to also be a safe place to get around. Or if you have people coming into your home to help facilitate, maybe they're working on your air conditioning unit or whatever it may be. If people have to come and do services in your home, a lot of people have need to get down to the storage area and it's too cluttered for them to get into. So you can declutter that, and garages to get your car in and out. Just to make it a nicer, safer place to get in and out of your car. And then I create space. What I can do is, if you do move in with an adult child, create a space to live with that adult child. So we have to, go into the home, take a look at the place, see what space you're going to live in, what bedroom, and get it ready for you to move in, which also means getting rid of things in your current home, right? We've got to declutter, we've got to get rid of things. So I kind of cover all of that, because what I also do is take things to your favorite donation place. Either the donation place of your choice, or there are several in town: Savers, Goodwill, St. Vincent de Paul, ditto. There are so many places that we can donate things to kind of declutter and get your home ready to sell if you are in fact moving out to, whether it's in with an adult child or to whatever senior living place you are going to. So we get it all ready, nice and neat and organized, and make it look good for the pictures. The real estate agent is going to want to get pictures of your home to place online to sell it, and also for the showings. So we make it look spectacular and get your money's worth out of it. But we were also organize cherished belongings. I understand that, I'm not here to say get rid of everything in your home, because guess what? We all have things that we want to keep, keepsakes from the kids, keepsakes from grandkids, from your parents, whatever you want to keep. We can digitalize it as well. That's another option. I have lots of people in my Rolodex. We've got people that can do that for you. We've got movers. We've got people to help junk removal. Just you name it on my Rolodex. I've got all the people that can help with getting your home ready to sell and purging anything you don't need. Maybe you don't want a lot of things because you're moving to a smaller facility, you're downsizing. So we need to get rid of a lot of things, and I can help do that. And then I liked how Donna said right size. So that's the next thing I do, downsize, helping seniors right size their lives, right? Move into a place that you use all, if you don't use a room in your existing home, now you've got the right size place to live in. And I help manage the move. I take it to the next step and pack your home to help move to your new facility. Again, I've got, portable storage facilities that I can help store things in and get the home ready to look nice and get it ready to sell. So I do all the packing. I provide all of the materials, the boxes, the bubble wrap, you name it. If you have your own, that's great too. I just charge what I pay at the store, so I don't upcharge you on the materials. And I make it simple with buying all the supplies for you. So I kind of take that stress away from you when you're moving as well. What to expect for your seniors. So I do a free 30-minute consultation. So you've contacted me, you've been referred by your real estate agent, and you want me to come out and take a look at your home. I come out, I do 30 to even 60 minutes, depending on how big the home is and what we need to talk about. And I will come into the home, we'll discuss. I charge after that. If you do want me to, I can give you an estimate of how long I think the move will take, or the purging, or whatever it is you want done. And I'm $60 an hour, so I can estimate about how long I think it's going to take, and you can get an estimate from there. As I mentioned, I supply all the materials. I will pack up your belongings and get them where they need to be with the help of storage, junk removal, estate sales, or moving companies. I want to simplify your life during this time, the stressful time, as it can be sometimes, and just take away that unnecessary stress of getting your home ready to sell. Or if your adult children are too busy and can't help with that either, I'm here for you. So with patience, empathy, and expertise. Now I do have some before and after pictures to show you. You can see in this one on your left how cluttered it was with all the boxes and all the things here. So, decluttering it to make it safer so you can get in and out easier, not trip over things. This is the other side of that. It was just a small room. It's a small closet, or actually, sorry, a large closet, small room. So kind of take all that away, get everything out of the way, make it a little nicer and neater, put it in bins if necessary, or just get rid of some of the things. This wall here is this wall right here. So you see, we sold the china cabinet. We got rid of all the, kept some of the things. Like I think they wanted to put the water jugs here and the crock pot, but the rest of it went. They got rid of it, and we made it, and they stayed in their home. This is a sports area now for their grandchildren, because the grandmother babysits the grandchildren. They like to come over and play with all the sports stuff. So we made that wall into the sports wall. And this is a garage I did. I don't find that these pictures do it justice. Now that I think back about the job, it was a disaster. Maybe even worse than this. I may have already picked up a few things before I remember to take the before picture, but and this is the after picture. We put a shelf or little unit here so that you can set stuff on it. Hung all the things on the wall here. Just put like things together. That's what I like to do, is put everything that's the same together and kind of organize it after that. This is another adult child that has to house all of her mother, who is in a nursing home, house her stuff at their place. So this was a disaster. All the things came from her mom's home, and was just a mess here. And now we've organized it. We put everything in bins. So her basement storage area is not so cluttered now. And you can walk through it. Now I believe Mackenzie's going to come back up and take any questions that anyone may have. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you again for joining us tonight. We will open the floor to Q&A. Anyone have any questions?
It was a lot.
Yeah, a little overwhelming.
Did you want to remind them about permission to contact?
Oh, yes. Sorry. There's a permission to contact form. So if you are interested in any of us contacting you, you can write, is it their name under yeah, their name under whoever you would like to contact you, and we would be happy to do so. Thank you. We appreciate it.